Good evening. Good evening, good evening. Today is March 31st, 2021. This is recording number 187, entitled, Saying Goodbye is Sometimes Hard. Saying goodbye is sometimes hard. I am quickly reminded of the times when I get visitations from family where they come in and they'll spend a day or spend a weekend or spend some time, and you find yourself fighting back tears when it's time for them to get in the vehicles and leave. And I know that's one of the quickest things that runs to our mind when we say saying goodbye is sometimes hard. Because you're not wanting to miss them, but you wanted them to go on with their lives so you can see them again. But this message today is one that I'm being confronted with more and more from others who are following the path, what I call the path to enlightenment. In John 20:17, Jesus makes a statement. Jesus saith to her, "Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father. But go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God." And as of recently, I began to notice the magnitude of lessons that are within a statement, that you could look in that statement and say, wait a minute, look at what's going on here. Jesus is saying, touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, which is saying to her, don't give me a reason to stay here, because I remember the love that we shared as friends. I remember the relationships that we had as friends, you and Martha and Lazarus. And he said, don't touch me lest I not finish what's been given me to do. Which then raises the question or the statement where we understand that people were saying, yeah, but that was Jesus. If Jesus was God in the flesh, if he came here loaded down with God, why would he say, touch me not, for I have not yet ascended? That right there is letting you know that he worked out his salvation here in the earth. I hope you can see that, because I see it. He's saying, don't touch me with materialism, the five senses. Don't remind me of this world that I lived in, because I have one more step to go. I must ascend to my Father. And immediately, what do we see? We see him disappearing and floating off to God. But the Father was always within him. So he has to be telling us that there is another level that he must reach within himself that would make his ascension in conscious awareness of the Father, of conscious awareness of who he is, of conscious awareness of who we are. And that lets us know that we too, if given the focus, if we focus on why we're here on the planet, if we focus on that, we too can and must make that ascension. Well, why do I say must? Well, a lot of us, we're looking for truth, but we're looking for truth to be able to use it in our lives so that we don't have to let go of friendships, We don't have to let go of values of money, of value of places, value of possessions. We don't have to let go of beliefs or opinions. We want God to work with us and make our life a good life while we yet hold on to things that we value. And as the weeks go by, I'm getting calls from those who are on this path. And they're saying it's getting harder and harder for me to talk to my friends. It's getting harder to talk to people. And they find themselves getting a revelation from God and trying to share it with their friends. And their friends look at them and go, what are you talking about? I don't understand that. And as of last night, I got one, and the person had said, explain this to them. And I said, what do you need explained? And the person that that was supposed to be explained to said, I don't need you to explain anything. I already know this. And I pointed out to the person who was asking me to explain it, do you not see that they say the same words? They use the same examples. They pray the same prayers. So therefore they're saying, what is it that you think you know that I don't know? And the one thing is they believe in good and evil. They believe in God and a devil. They believe in themselves speaking to a God who is going to do something. Now, how do you explain that away from someone? How do you tell them that one does not talk to something else if it's one? One can only talk to itself. And then they look at you and go, whoa, what are you talking about? And I say, if what you are doing is working for you, then there's no need for this phone call if it's working. And you're the only one that knows that it's working. Well, yes, I know it's working. Okay, then we don't have anything to talk about. But you can tell by further conversation that this person has not made an ascension, because the ascension would be to omnipotence, it would be to omniscience, and it would be to omnipresence. Those three things would assure you that God is with you all the time. God knows everything you have need of, and there is no power that can act upon you that would limit what God has for you. We all agree that God created the heavens and the earth and everything in it, but we can't seem to understand that God, the invisible, is what is expressing us as the visible. See? That gives the impression of duality, doesn't it? But it's not. God was manifest. I think this is what Paul says to Timothy. This is the mystery. God was manifest in the flesh. So God brought himself to the flesh, and people can't see that. They have to have a person talking to God because of all of the evil and ugly stuff that goes on in our world. And the scriptures tell us the natural man, who is the man who believes in good and evil, who believes in duality, who believes in God and a devil, who believes in miracles, if you will, I'll explain that, who believes in all of this stuff, they will never look at it. God says that man is never under the laws of God, neither indeed can be. He is like a branch of a tree that's cut off and withered. Now you look out at the world, and you can see this. So Jesus is saying, I will overcome. I have overcome the world. In overcoming the world, I have overcome everything that would limit manifestation of the presence of God. In overcoming the world, I have overcome every knowledge that would limit me from having everything in my experience. In overcoming the world, I have limited or destroyed the belief in a power that can work against me. So we go back to the beginning and we realize then that God has manifested himself in what we call the material world, but if God is spirit, we have to be spirit. So therefore, God has manifested himself in the spiritual world as the Son. And that's why he's saying, I am ascended. I must ascend to the Father. Touch me not. Every belief, the last of the few beliefs that I have that would tie me to this world as a material soul, as a material being, I must ascend those beliefs. Now, Isaiah says, awake thou that sleeps. Christ will give you light. So we need to go back and we need to contemplate God, because wherever God manifests himself, he manifests himself completely. Not just a body, not just a point in time, not just a situation that he takes care of, but if God is invisible and everything everything that God is invisible. So therefore, when God becomes visible, wouldn't that tend to surmise that, well then, when God came to the visible realm, what did he bring with him? Everything. So therefore, Jesus is saying, I must become fully God in the flesh. But go to my brethren, denoting what? Those that are like me. See? Now we need to understand that there is nothing that Jesus had that we don't have, for he then would not have called us brethren. He said, go to those that are like me and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father. I made it. It's complete. A lot of times when we get a job, you ask the boss or the supervisor, well, how am I going to learn this? And they say, OJT, on-the-job training. For some reason, we refuse to believe that Jesus learned as he went and demonstrated as he learned until he realized the fullness of the Godhead dwelling in him, and then he turned and said, go to those who I have been practicing on, I've been sharing with, go to them and say, I made it. I ascend to my Father and your Father, which makes them what? Brethren, spiritual brethren, and to my God and your God. What is Jesus saying? You have nothing to worry about if you will now do the things that I have shown you over the last 3 years. Keep your mind stayed on him. Lift him up at all times. Walk ye in the lessons that I have taught you. Eat my flesh, drink my blood. Do all the things that I have commanded you. As our consciousness rises to the value of truth and truth alone, our values of mortality must be discarded, left behind. That's another thing we do not want to do. We don't want to leave these brand new cars behind. We don't want to leave the clothing and the money to be able to do these things. And he never told us that those things would be left behind. He said, leave behind the values that you have placed on them that makes you have to chase after these things or get jealous of people who have these things. He said, leave that behind. Why? Because I'm going to add those things to you as you understand your ascension properties, as you understand that your conscious awareness of who you are is the only thing that you should have value of. Okay, here comes that scripture. Lay not for yourselves gold and things, treasures where gold and, where thieves and moths and rust can get in. He said, don't leave your value there. Why? Because those things are here in the earth, and you will always worry over those things. But the things that I give you, the treasure that I give you, you lay it up, it will never be taken from you. So as we leave behind possessions, beliefs, opinions. I haven't been on Facebook probably for a little over a month. I just kind of go there and glance every now and then. But the other day I saw one, and someone was already saying, let's impeach Biden. Man been in there, 2 months? And they're already ready to impeach him. They're already saying, these are Christians now. I'm not talking about just regular people. These are Christians. Impeach him. Those kids, just turn them away. Send them back out into the woods and whatnot from where they come. No, don't feed them. Don't clothe them. We're talking 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds. They're just saying turn them away. What type of Christianity is that? So the things he says, leave behind opinions. And you all know we all got them, right? And the hardest of all, leave behind relationships. Most are not willing to do this, thereby retarding spiritual effectiveness and freedom. Sometimes I shudder to think what would happen if someone presented people with, here you go, one hand you have Jesus Christ and the ascension properties, and over here you have your family. What will you choose? You think about the people who would choose to stay with their families. Why? Because this is what they were taught, that blood goes thicker than mud, that you do everything for your family, and your family is all you got. I had somebody tell me the other day, I thought family was supposed to help you whenever you needed help. Yeah, they are supposed to help you when you need help. But they also have the right to make a good decision on what is going on. If they don't see that as a good decision, putting them out there. Just because you use the term family does not mean that this person is obligated to put themselves out there for you. So the thing that we need to realize is that what is the Father's way? Most people do not know the Father's way. They know a way, and they try to attach God to that way so that God will help them make it through their way. But in reality, in actuality, we need to ask the most important question. Why am I here? Why am I here? Something had to put me here. And if it put me here, it had to have a reason. Now we go back. Here we go back again to the invisible. God was manifest in the flesh. Oh, no, bro. No. There's no way in the world that I'm ever going to walk around and say, I and my Father are one. When you see me, you see him that sent me. Have I been so long with you? I had a person tell me yesterday that, we need to, if we were to have a relationship of knowing each other, we would have to spend time with one another and learn each other's ways and things alike and whatnot. And I said, well, I kind of disagree with you. I understand that would be what we would do as material beings. I said, but if there's only one Spirit, there's only one Lord, one baptism, that one Spirit animates everything, every person throughout the globe. That one Spirit is everywhere. Therefore, we do not have to spend time with each other as you think, for we already have relationship. Why? We have relationship because Jesus looked at the people who he did not know, and he said, if you knew God, you would know me also. So what then is the important thing for me to do? Know God. If I know God, I know you. Yeah, but would you give me money if you knew I was going to go down here to the liquor store and spend it, and I lied to you, said I wanted to buy groceries, or I needed to see my son, or I needed to go to so-and-so, and I would look at you and say, that's what I'm trying to get to. That once I give it to you, I don't care what you do with it. You see what I'm saying? You can go get as drunk as you want to. But I believe that you came and you asked me for something material, but when I gave it to you, the fact that you touched it, you touched my consciousness, and the spirit of the consciousness of the presence of God will jump off of whatever I gave you and cause you to ask questions and lead you to the path of righteousness. But the bottom line is, the scriptures tell us what? Give to everyone who asks of you, right? And we're like, I don't know how to do that. Well, that's what we must contemplate. Because if this world is full of things that we should not be valuing, then why do we value them? And why do we care what you do with them? If I give it to you, I'm going to get it back to give to someone else. Or someone's going to give it to me that I can continue to give. So with all of these categories of beliefs that I've come up with, some people force themselves away from possessions, beliefs, opinions, and relationships, and it usually leaves a scar because we don't know how to separate ourselves without leaving a scar. You see, to reach ascension would be the highest attainment for me. And to reach it, I would want to stay on this globe as long as I can reach people. So it is not my goal to reach ascension and drive you away from me or give you a reason to not want to come around me. So now my contemplation is, how do I accept this mighty golden nugget that I found? How do I accept it? And then I'm able to share it with people that they would not necessarily want me, but they would want the result of a relationship with God that cannot be broken. One must weigh his values on the spiritual path, and I can see that may not be an easy task. Jesus said, if a man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. Whew, man. I'm going to read that again. I didn't make this up. Jesus said this, if a man come to me and hate not his father and his mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. Please, show me the person that you know that can do that. And we know that he did not mean hate as the way we use the word hate, but the bottom line is, in Revelations it says, and greater they that overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony, for they loved not their lives to death. They laid their lives down. If a man come to me, what he's saying is, if a man wants to walk in this awareness that I am expressing to you, you're going to have to let that world go out there. Now, you still got a job you got to go work. You still got family you got to take care of. You still have bills you got to pay. You still have vehicles you have to maintain. You still have clothing you have to buy. You still have all these things that you have to do. And Jesus said, hate them. Lay them down. Doesn't that spark a question? Master, how? See? How? Look at your focus. You're saying, how do I let these things go? He's saying, take no thought. Oh, come on. You got to be kidding. Take no thought for your life, for where you will eat or where you'll sleep or wherewithal you'll be fed. For your heavenly Father knoweth what things you have need of. There's the answer. And the question should be what? How do I get in touch with the Heavenly Father? How? I've seen a couple of stories where there were these practitioners, and practitioners are people who pray for people. And what they would do is they would set up a client list, and they would pray for these people and send them a bill. Whether the person got healed or not was not the important thing, but they were focused on continuing to pray and do the best they could until they both came to the revelation that I shouldn't have to send these people bills. So they stopped sending them bills. And, of course, we believe now God took over, right? No. No, he didn't. These people, both of them went on an average of 2 years struggling. One got handed over to bill collectors. But they said, I know that the Father knoweth what things I have need of. Look at the ascension. Look at where you're focusing your awareness to move up, And both of them at some point in time came to the revelation, or they said the revelation came to them, I don't have a need. The Father is with me. Man does not live by work alone. And they said immediately, somebody stepped into their lives and handed them some money. And when they handed them that money, it says that the flow just continued. Or it may have come in from a check over here, or it may have come from somebody that owed them some money a year ago, or it may have come from somebody you did something for them and they want to give you some money. That's just like the other day. I was sitting in here meditating and got a phone call, and I looked down and I saw this number, 681, and I said, oh, no, one of those robocalls. But I answer all my calls. So I said, hello. And the person said, is this Reverend Orr? I said, yeah, this is he. And they said, well, this is blah, blah, blah. Oh, I said, hey, how you doing? He said, okay, are you close to Welch right now? I said, no, I'm in Habakkuk right now. Oh, well, I got some money for you. See what I'm saying? I said, what? He said, I got some money for you. If you were coming through Welch, I'd meet you down on the street there and hand it to you. I said, well, we'll probably have to make it some other time. He said, well, I got to come to Southwood. I said, okay, well, I'll meet you down in Southwood. Next thing I know, he was knocking on the door. And he walked in and gave me some money for the church. You see what I'm saying? Now, this person said, you helped me 2 years ago. He said, I got some money, but I was giving, offerings and whatnot to certain people. He said, and I thought about you. He said, you helped me the most of all of these people because they were giving me jobs or things to do. You helped me to believe again. And I went, man, that's the greatest compliment. But I was here and I was not thinking about. And, of course, here comes little old pointy head, right? And you take that money and go buy you. No. You see what I'm saying? You never get away from those suggestions. I wrote his name on a piece of paper and took it to my wife and said, Sunday, this is what you put in for this person. But what am I saying? You have to weigh your values. What do you value the most? If your value is on you getting out of a situation, it's on the wrong thing. And I don't know how to tell you how to get your value off getting out of that thing. Because it was that thing that caused you to come chasing God, was it not? Usually it's a bad situation that sends you to God. You come to God to get that situation arrested and taken care of. And here I am up here telling you, forget the thing. Focus on God. Focus on God. And it's just as of late have I come to the understanding that it is when someone asks you to pray for them and you go to pray, don't take that person into the prayer. And for a long time, I was like, why not? No, you take you into the prayer, and you go into the prayer reminding yourself of who God is. You see that? You do not go in there trying to get God to help somebody who is in need. You go to God because God has said, I am with you always. I am God. There is no other. I am the only God. I am the true and living God. Where I am, there is fullness of joy. There is nothing that I will withhold from you, for it is my pleasure to give you all things. I am with you always, even until the end of that belief. I am with you. There is nothing that can come against you because I am God. And where I am, there is all power. Where I am, there is all presence. Where I am, there is all knowledge. So what then can come in that place to destroy a relationship? It is only what comes out of your mouth that defiles the temple. It is only what comes out of your mouth that defiles the temple. It is only what comes out of your mouth that defiles. Now we can stop looking at a temple crumbling. The temple is defiled because of what is believed within the temple. If I believe that the temple can be destroyed, I am going to speak that destruction out of my mouth. I must be willing to give up this human experience, but I don't know any other experience. And the scripture said, I, God, will take you by the right hand and lead you and guide you in the way. Oh, wow. God will take me by the right hand. So instead of getting a picture of God grabbing my hand, wait a minute. My right hand is whose right hand? Right. And that right hand denotes what? Power. God is saying, I will take you by the hand of my power and lead you through. Now, in all of that last 2 or 3 minutes that I went through, were you thinking about anybody that needed prayer? No. You were listening to the words describing the relationship between God and his creation, which is really no relationship, right? If God was manifest in the flesh, the relationship is between God and himself. And himself is being shown as the Son. And the Son is God manifest from the invisible. Relationship is what? One. And that's what Jesus is saying. Go to my brethren and tell them, I made it. Stop thinking of Jesus as somebody who came here with it already made. No. He came here and he went through. He put himself through the one thing. Guess what? You're going to put yourself through it too. If you're going to ascend to the heights of Jesus Christ, you are going to lay your life down at every opportunity that comes to you that describes a limitation. And you're going to look at it, and you're going to say, God is the only person, the only presence. Spirit of the Lord is everywhere. There is nothing that can befall the presence of God because God is the only presence. And you're going to listen. And you're going to wait. And a few minutes later, if it starts messing with you, you're going to do it again. And you're going to constantly contemplate that relationship between God and his Son. That's what he's saying when he says, when it pleased the Father to reveal his Son in me. What he's saying is, when it pleased the Father to open the revelation and let me see who I am. Now I am fully persuaded. Why? Because as out, so inner. As inner, so outer. So therefore, my revelation is what? I and my Father are one. We see Jesus guarding his decision that he must make. Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father. Touch me not. What are you saying to all of these situations that's coming at you? You should be saying what? Touch me not, for I have not yet fully ascended. I meet the task that has been assigned to me. I will not let anything stand in my way, because I can help those that I love. I can help them a whole lot more if I stay assigned to this greeting and ask the Father to help me guard my belief that I don't push these people away, that I don't scar the relationship to where they think I've fallen off the rock, I've gone somewhere and just become just ridiculous, unable to deal with. Help me, Father. He will keep at perfect peace whose mind is stayed on him. As our thoughts press higher and higher to think about God and his creation, are we breaking the tie? We're breaking the tie to this world. And we're the only one that can see it. And we have to watch over it that we do nothing to push those who are coming behind us. Because they're watching. They're watching. And they're looking to see if you really, really are legit. Are you just talking? Because I know you can go out here and you can talk to 50 million Christians, and every one of them are quoting scriptures and quoting, saying all the things that you say, but you know they don't mean it. They don't believe it. They want to believe it, but they don't know how. Why? Because you can't get to heaven believing in good and evil. You can't get to heaven believing that God is not the only power. You can't get to heaven without believing God is the only knowledge. You can't get to heaven without believing that God is the only present. It's impossible. So we must stand firm in our quest, stand firm in the liberty. What? God is one. I'm in the Father. Where the Father is, I am. There are those who have let go of a relationship with me personally. Reasons unknown. And they make no attempt to repair those relationships. And now I know that I must also do the same with them. Reason known that the repair might be in order. Did you get that? There are those who have broken relationship with me for reasons I don't know why. But now I know that I must also break the ties, relationships for the right reasons. I go to the Father, that the repair will once again join us together. Another not easy task. But the Father knoweth all things. So what do? I relegate all authority unto him, that his will would be done. When it is recognized that spiritual consciousness, awareness of truth, will automatically separate the aspirant from mortal belief, the purge has begun. We must come to a belief and understanding that spiritual consciousness, the more that you progress up the awareness of consciousness toward the heavenly state, it will automatically separate you from untruth. You won't have to look at people and decide whether you're going to have anything to do with them or not, because that's not your choice. For God came and gave that how many would be saved? All. That none would perish. So we cannot have a separation in heaven. Just think about all of the people who are sincere in their own thinking. There's hardly a place you can go where you don't see in God we trust, blessed, highly favored. You see it on all the vehicles, and you know most of these people are going to miss God because they have opinions, criticisms, and judgment, not knowing that the state of awareness called heaven is an awareness in consciousness that separates you from opinions, judgments, criticism, and all of that, to where you only see the presence of God, and you are able to be self-crucified while they crucify you also. Because when they hurt you, you can't hurt them back. You have to go and sit down and say, yep, I got to get rid of that, because the way it made me feel, the way they made me feel, I know that God does not feel that way. Because Jesus is hanging on the cross, and he's saying what? Father, forgive them. Forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. So I must self-crucify myself. Isn't that what Paul said? I realize that I have been crucified with Christ, but nevertheless I live. But not I that live, but Christ now living my life. And the life I live by the faith of the Son of God. I am now fully persuaded that nothing. Look at what he put himself through. While people were trying to kill him, people were railing on him and talking about him, he had to go and take all of those affronts to him and drop them in the sewer. And come back and go, oh, men and brethren, how great is our God and the love of our God. And then he says, and when I do come to these people, I purpose to know one thing, and that's Jesus Christ and him crucified. Why him crucified? Because when he's crucified, what happens 3 days later? He raises himself from the dead. No, brother. God raised him up. No. He was God. He is God. He raised himself. Therefore, you will raise yourself as you walk this planet. As you climb the ladder of ascension, that's what you're doing. You're raising yourself from the dead. That's why it says, why seek ye the living among the dead? Why are you out here trying to find a good life among all of these dead people out here? Why? Because as soon as you do something that comes against them, they would easily cut your head off. They would easily send you to hell. You know, it's one of the saddest things I find is that Christians want other people to go to hell. They want them to go to hell. And yet the scripture says, and God desired that none perish, so he sent his son to save them all. And when he saw that they were not able to pay the price, he paid it for them, that none would be lost. Take up all the scraps. Gather up all the fragments, that none be lost. There's a lesson in everything. Yes, the purge has begun. Saying goodbye is sometimes hard. But God bless you. I have overcome the world. Amen.